All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to begin our session here. Thanks everybody for joining. So my name's Mark Name. I'm the chief architect of our With Watson partnership in IBM Watson. And with me is?
I'm Luke Cantor, and I'm a senior developer at Blue Wolf.
So what we're going to talk about today is AI in the contact center with IBM Watson. So how do we embed Watson into Salesforce, specifically Salesforce Service Cloud? So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the solutions and some of the things we've done. We're going to show you some real life things live in the flesh, but then we're going to kind of dive into some code, look at how easy it is to use Watson and to embed Watson into your application. So it's going to be very hands-on, and we're going to take a close look at a lot of really great things. Just some context setting. So a lot of people say, hey, what are you guys at IBM Watson doing with Salesforce? So we take a multiple prong approach, as the slide shows. So we have a solutions angle where we create these services offerings, solutions. One of them we're going to actually show you today called Next Best Action with Watson. We have App Exchange apps. So we have an app called Discovery for Salesforce that you can go into App Exchange, download for free. We're actually going to talk about that as well. And we also heavily support the developer community. So we created a Watson Salesforce SDK. So you've got Apex SDK for all the Watson services. We also do all the major programming languages as well, Java, Python, etc. And we also have some OEM use cases with Salesforce as well. So when we talk about AI in the contact center, what does that really mean? There are multiple different dimensions of AI in the contact center. So one of them is sort of the good old chatbot, the conversational solution. And we play in that space as well. We're not going to focus as much there here, but for example, we use Watson Assistant. Use Watson Assistant to complement Einstein bots, right? How do those work together? You guys can swing by our booth and we'll actually show you a demo of some really cool stuff with Einstein bots and Watson Assistant. But what we're going to focus on today is two other areas. One of them we call intelligent routing, so helping agents do their job more quickly and easily, more efficiently. And we have something called Next Best Action with Watson. And also the insight engine piece, so surfacing relevant knowledge articles to our agents. Agents are always trying to look up documentation. They need to know how to do things. We're going to look at one of our App Exchange offerings called Discovery for Salesforce. And again, then we're going to dive into how we build some of these things and how easy it is. So the last context setter, and we're not really big on slides, so there will be very few slides here, is what is the scenario today in Service Cloud for a customer service agent? Today, a customer service agent comes into work, they open up their queue, they have a list of cases to go through. They open the case, read through the case, understand what needs to be done, determine if they have enough information to do what they need to do to resolve the case, go off, resolve the case, come back, respond to the customer, and move on to the next case. It's sort of a typical flow, manual process, right? Mundane in some senses. So the first thing we're going to show here is our solution called Next Best Action with Watson. So the beauty of everything you're going to see today is everything was built on the Salesforce platform. We're going to talk about how we leveraged the Salesforce Lightning platform in just a few minutes. And Next Best Action with Watson, the goal is to help your agents work more quickly and easily. What it translates to is dollars. So some of the things it does, it understands the case being submitted. It guides the agent the right way. We're going to live demo this for you guys in just a couple of seconds, so I don't want to throw all of it. But it is a complete AI-powered solution, true AI using multiple services in the Watson AI platform. And we're also going to look at the platform at the tail end of this presentation. So without further ado, let's kind of just jump into the first part of this. Let's show you some of the power of IBM Watson working in Salesforce Service Cloud, and then we'll show you how we did some of this stuff. So I'm going to turn it over to Luke here, who's going to fire up a demo for us.
Thanks, Mark. So as you can see here, I have a new case queued up. So there's not a lot of information in this case, but there is a description down here. So I'm going to save this. And then I'm going to refresh the browser, because this happens asynchronously.
The magic already happened, by the way. Within just a second, the browser and the UI can't even catch up with the speed of Watson and Salesforce here. Upon submission, it fires off, and Luke's going to talk about this, but a process builder kicks off a bunch of call-outs to IBM Watson, and then within just a couple of seconds, boom, you're going to start to see all these enrichments that are going through. Dev console in the background, monitoring everything, returning the logs, seeing what's going back. We're going to have a good look at that. So we can pull up 1065.
So it looks like we had an internet issue right there. I'm going to go ahead and create it.
Oh, we love those.
Yeah.
So
here we go. So first thing that you'll probably notice is that there's an anger alert in the top right-hand corner. So Tone Analyzer has looked at the description of this case, analyzed it, and determined that the tone of this case is that it's an angry customer. So there's a lightning component on the page that will alert your agent right away that this case needs to be handled with a little more care. So Watson NLC, Natural Language Classifier, has taken this description and classified the intent of the case, and then it determined that the intent of the case is filing a claim, as you can see. So the next thing that it does is it creates a task. And on this task, you'll see that there's a lot of information here on this next best action details field. So Watson Natural Language Understanding has analyzed the description, and it knows what entities to look for because the entities have been mapped to the intent in our custom metadata. So it looks through there and pulls out the data for those entities and saves it to the task, so that information is at the fingertips of your agent.
And this is huge, guys, right? I mean, understanding your business, understanding your domain, and this is one of Watson's key differentiators. Going through paragraphs of text and extracting very specific things. As you can see, for example, the auto damage, looking for very, very specific things. And every customer has a little twist on what they want to extract. But this is extremely powerful using AI, so don't underestimate the power that this is providing to your agents.
So I'm going to go back to the case. And another thing that Next Best Action does is it dynamically drafts an email for your agent based on the intent and the combination of entities relevant to that intent that are present or absent. So if I scroll down here in the Chatter Publisher, you'll see that there's an email here already drafted for our agent. There's an empathy statement here because this case has been identified as an angry case. And then the draft email has been determined by the fact that all of the entities are present, so we don't have to ask for them to provide any information when we send them this email. So the agent can send this as is, or they can type directly in the Chatter Publisher and press send. And this improves the consistency of how your agents handle cases.
I mean, think about that for a second. I mean, automation, right? And everyone always loves this. This is sort of the tail end, right, of everything. Of all the Watson-powered insights lead to this automation. Drafting an email response saves enormous amounts of time for agents. Yep.
So now we're going to take a peek behind the scenes at just how this is being done. So what I've highlighted here are our calls using the Apex SDK. This one is going out to the Tone Analyzer service. And you'll see that this is about 5 lines of code. It looks like 10 lines because I've formatted it so that it looks nice, but it's really only about 5 lines of code. And so if you want to get started and try out the Apex SDK, all you need to do is Google Salesforce Watson SDK, and we have it all available in a repo on GitHub. And this is very easy to deploy to your org. If you have Salesforce DX, you can just click the Deploy to SFDX button, or if not, it only takes about 4 command line commands.
So Luke, play that back to me. I'm trying to piece this together in my head. So we have the Apex SDK, of course, free on GitHub. We have all our Watson services, which are free to deploy on IBM Cloud, which we're going to show. But from within Salesforce, from within Apex, did you say 5 lines of code to invoke Watson?
Yes, we've turned what would be thousands of lines of code into just 5 lines of code in the case of Tone Analyzer.
That's incredible. If anyone else thinks it's incredible, I'm not the only one. Thank you. 5 lines of code.
So now I'm going to hand it back to Mark to talk about the architecture behind Next Best Action.
Yep, so just a little, thanks Luke for showing that. So it really is that simple. You guys can try this all out free. I'll be saying that probably 100 times throughout this presentation. Free, fast. Here's a little bit of the architecture at a high level of what exactly is going on behind the scenes. So you've got Salesforce CRM Cloud on the right. You've got IBM Cloud on the left. On the left are all the services that you saw. So Watson Tone Analyzer, analyzing the tone and emotion of the customer. Out of the box, no training required. You get that AI model with the Tone Analyzer service. Watson Natural Language Classification, understanding the intent of the case. That is one of our most powerful and fully mature services. Watson Natural Language Understanding is what extracts the entities from the case. We looked at auto damage, if you remember that. And you use Watson Knowledge Studio to actually train and teach Watson. There's a really nice intuitive UI that lets you do that. On the Salesforce side, of course, we looked at the customer emotion piece. We plugged that into a Lightning component. We're going to talk about that and all the other pieces. The details, business process, the automation of the email template generation, working hand in hand with Watson. So the next thing I want to jump to here is, which again is a Salesforce Service Cloud Watson offering in App Exchange, is called Watson Discovery for Salesforce. So this is a really awesome offering. It's free to download from App Exchange. You guys can just go to App Exchange and type Watson Discovery. Free to get started, immediate value. You can install this through App Exchange. We've had customers install it in less than an hour and get up and running. So the value is immediate. If you're trying to show something quick and dirty, this is the way to go. Watson Discovery Service is something that we have. It's an offering from IBM Watson where, think about how you have documents all over your organization, many different repositories, cloud storage, all over the place. We ingest all that into Watson Discovery, and Watson Discovery is, think of it as an intelligent insight engine powered by Watson AI. So you're able to run natural language queries or structured queries in Watson Discovery, and that looks across your entire, think of it as a federated search of your documents. You can use this in many cases. In our case here, we're going to show how it helps agents surface the right documentation without them having to do anything or even any search. No explicit training is required for this. It's ready to go out of the box with Watson's AI model. However, if you want to calibrate it, you absolutely can do additional training. So I'm going to jump right now to show you a quick demo of Watson Discovery for Salesforce. So if you remember, we were in our filing a claim case. And we talked about all the great things that Next Best Action does. There was one piece there, though, that was required the agent to go off and actually file the claim for this customer. Well, in this case, what if the agent doesn't know where to go or doesn't know the steps of how to file a claim? We know they have to file it. We know they know what data points they need because Watson already provided those. But what they don't know is exactly how to do it. So in comes Watson Discovery for Salesforce. It's a Lightning component that we built. And right here does three major things, actually four major things. The first major thing is it automatically, without clicking any buttons or doing anything, surfaces the most relevant previously resolved cases in Salesforce. So remember, this case is about needing to file a claim. The customer's upset because they tried to do it, it's not working. Here you have, by relevance, the top entry is saying, hey, here's a previously closed case that one of my colleagues had worked in the past. Let me see what they did, or let me see what they used to get the job done. Right here in Salesforce, I just click on View Full Case, and that will pull up that previously resolved case. Maybe it was yesterday, maybe it was 6 months ago. And I can kind of read through this case and what the customer submitted and what was done over here, what the back and forth was with the customer, what documentation was actually used to resolve the case. So this is powerful. Think about how many times we have to go as an agent back and forth with a customer to get information to diagnose. Well, if my colleague already did something like that, I just saved an enormous amount of time. So look at Watson Discovery surfacing previously resolved cases is huge. But what if there isn't a previously resolved case? What if I'm the first one to hit this, or we just haven't had any cases that have yet been resolved in this? So with Watson Discovery, I can not only search through previously resolved cases in a Salesforce repository, but we have multiple out-of-the-box integrations with Salesforce, with Box, the cloud storage provider, with SharePoint, Cloud Object Storage, and others. But you can integrate any data source with Discovery. That's the power of Watson Discovery. So I can actually specify here what sources, if I know, hey, all my training materials are in my Box folder, I can specify it or not. I can just leave it as all sources. And here I have resolved cases, and here I have all results. All results are everything but the resolved cases. And here I have some documents that I have in Box. And again, sorted and organized through AI by relevance. My first document here says claim filing process. That's exactly what I need help with. Within Salesforce, I click on that button, and I can actually read through the document. This may be a 10-page document. It may be a one-pager. In any case, Watson highlights, this little aqua piece, highlights the most relevant part of the document and why it was returned. And if you read through this, it says, here's how to file a claim. Access the claim processing system. Select file a new claim. It guides me as the agent through the process. I don't have to search. I don't have to click. Watson surfaced that to me in Salesforce Service Cloud. The last thing I'm going to show you here is you can at any time use Discovery for Salesforce to run a query at any time. Let's say I'm seeing a message, an error message, or maybe an error code. I can just type in whatever I want to query. It can be a question, it could be a natural language query, a bunch of terms, whatever you want. And this is searching right now on the fly my Watson Discovery deployment. And as you can see here, error code 49, what does that really mean? Here it is again. I can read the full article, and I can attach it to the current case if it helped me with that, and this will attach a copy of it to the case. As I'm clicking around as an agent, I don't realize this, but I am training Watson to continue to get better. So we implemented unsupervised learning. Everything I'm clicking on, from reading the full article, attaching to a case, etc., is funneling back into Watson Discovery and improving the machine relevancy model. So those are sort of some of the end products that we have today in production out there. Discovery for Salesforce, you can get at App Exchange. Next best action with Watson. You reach out to IBM, it's a services offering we can deploy for you. Now we want to talk a little bit about the development and configurability of what we've built. So Luke's going to take us through a little bit about what we did with Next Best Action from the Salesforce perspective.
Yeah, so in order to open this up so that every business that has its own unique business process can really leverage the Next Best Action tool, we've used custom metadata to allow this to be completely configurable. So you can input the intents that are relevant to your business into our intent metadata, and then you can put in any entities that you would want to look for with natural language understanding in the custom metadata as well, and you can map those objects together. Then you would also create email mappings for those draft emails that we demonstrated earlier, and you would create you have the option to have different emails for every combination of an intent and the entities that are present or absent. So for instance, if I have 2 or 3 of the entities that I'm looking for that are missing, I can make sure in my email to ask for each one of those. We also have the ability through custom metadata to change some of the settings, for instance, to change the language to French. Right now, Tone Analyzer supports English and French, so those are the languages that we support with Next Best Action. And there are, you can also modify the custom metadata settings to use the assistant endpoint as well.
Yep, intents, entities, your service settings. We tried to make it as configurable and exposed as possible. So for an admin, it's really, really easy. You see some of the screenshots here. You can literally just pop in, see a list of the custom metadata, well documented and very, very, very easy to use. And let's talk a little bit about the Lightning platform and how we leverage, some of the things we leverage on the powerful Lightning platform. The first thing we did is a couple Lightning components. So that anger alert you saw, it's a basic Lightning component, but extremely powerful, flagging and letting the agent know, hey, this customer's upset. You can use that not just to flag, but to prioritize, to route your cases, and do a lot of other things. And we also leveraged it using the Watson learning portion where you can teach Watson. That was also a Lightning component. But one of the greatest things is the chatter publisher.
So the chatter publisher, we can create an email action similar to the send email action that comes natively as soon as you set up email to case. And we've linked that to an email template that then surfaces the values of the fields that are saved on the case record, their Watson tone statement and Watson draft email that I mentioned before, so that it surfaces those in the chatter publisher and allows you to modify it if you need to and just click send and send it off right from the same page.
So the last thing we want to make sure you guys kind of take away from this is, Luke and I showed some of the products and stuff that we worked on and actually developed. We showed how easy it is. We showed you some live stuff. It really is that easy. Cloud.ibm.com, if you haven't gone there yet, name and email address gets you enrolled. That takes 10 seconds. And we have our Watson platform here to the top right. We have a plethora of services. There's a light free version of every single service, just except for one of them. And again, it's free to get up and running. We have full documentation. You see some screenshots here, API documentation, examples, code snippets, tutorials, walkthroughs. You literally can deploy one of these services in just seconds and start making API calls from Salesforce using Apex to IBM Cloud.
And just to underline how easy this is, I had no experience with Watson before I started working with Mark on these. So I had to go in and just looking through the documentation that we had, I was pretty easily able to learn how to use the SDK and how to use the Watson services to create these awesome applications.
Yep, absolutely. So Luke he's kind of the proof in the pudding, if you will, of the situation. But that is it. We are out of time because the timer says 0. So thank you everyone for attending. We will be at the Watson booth downstairs in the main expo. If you guys have any questions, we'll hang around here for a bit if anyone wants to chit chat about Watson and what we did with Salesforce. Thank you.